Er will uns umbringen heute. Sind wir live?
Wir sind live. Hi.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Yves.
Hi, Yves.
Right, tonight, Sascha and I were hijacking Yves just chatting. We might have lost him somewhere. We don't know. He disappeared, but he might appear during the session. We don't know. So it's 9 p.m. our time. So we decided to go live as Yves and Yves.
Yes.
Yves just chatting. So tonight session is on short note because we just came up with what we think pretty interesting topic. Again, a topic around the whole licensing topic in terms of Broadcom and service providers, and the discussion around VCF and the VMware. I think it's called VMware Firewall add-on package.
Yeah, let's say it's this way. So after the announcement of the new licenses with VCF, and there is only included network services in VCF licenses, and firewall will be an add-on. Most of the service providers, talking currently a lot about that because there are so many problems. Because they don't know what happens in the future. Do they need firewall? And in the first step, we only heard the rumors there will be only a distributed firewall, and most of the service or let's call it a VMware firewall license add-on. But most of the service providers say we don't need distributed firewall. We're only using edge firewall for our customers.
So let's take a few steps back and to get everyone on the same page. So with VCF, we have NSX as part of the licensing stack.
Yes.
During tonight's session, we refer to this one being the VCF core license, just to be straight. So what's part of the licensing is officially it's just called NSX. NSX is part of VCF. And that's the nice terminology. And if you look a bit deeper into the licensing deal, you figure out that networking, that only NSX Networking is part of the VCF core licensing. So NSX Networking includes, I refer to switching and routing. So we have the whole overlay stuff, Geneve and these things. And routing is distributed router, service router in the edge gateway or in the gateway. We have VRF. VRF is part of the core license, and EVPN.
Yes.
That's pretty interesting because previously EVPN was only in the Enterprise plus license of NSX. So that's a major change, but that's it. So no firewall or close to no firewall at all is part of the VCF core licensing. And that's where the VMware firewall package add-on kicks into the game.
Yes. And that was a big problem, or that might be a big problem for most of the service providers, because they said, we are using firewall for our customers, but if we need to pay separate, we need to take a look what are the next steps for us, because many of the service providers still including virtual firewalls in their tenants, for example, FortiGate, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, whatever. And because of some add-on features, let's call it add-on features that these vendors have. And then, a few service providers thought about to go only with the dedicated firewalls, the virtual firewalls from different vendors. And the current situation is that we have the option to, buy this add-on with distributed firewall. That's 120 euros or US dollar list price. That's the public list price per core. So you have to pay it per every core on your host. And that's the point. That's the price for the service providers.
But it's not only distributed firewall. It's VMware firewall.
Yeah, that's VMware firewall.
That includes the gateway as well.
Yes.
But thing is, speaking of gateway firewalls, so we have a ton of now he's here, and now Yves is here, and now he sees the mess we two are currently creating.
Oh,
Even if
there is a
even
third
Yves.
Yves.
Because it's Yves just chatting, so we
Yeah.
decided we are now Yves and Yves. So the gateway firewall provided by NSX with VCD has a great advantage compared to the third-party products in terms of out-of-the-box self-service.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So a service provider has the ability to choose if he enables a tenant access to the edge gateway and the services which are hosted. Could be done as a managed service, but in most cases, what we see already is tenants will configure the services themselves. So they hand over the edge gateway and the tenant has it in self-service. And that's pretty cool. It's out of the box. And again, as you said, the new license model is a bit different in terms of, let's face it, security. So what we still have in the core license are the edge gateway services like NAT or VPN.
Yes.
So that is still part of the VCF core licensing, but now it gets interesting. The stateful firewall is not. And now it gets really tricky.
Yeah. So stateless gateway firewall is included in the core. So that's like we understand it. That's an important message here. And it's only included stateless.
Active standby.
And that means you can only use your edge transport or your edge gateways active standby.
It's active standby. It's stateless. So stateless basically means you need to create the firewall rules for both directions, independent of each other. That's stateless. So it's stateless and only active standby. So active standby in terms of how a gateway is deployed. If you think about the NSX UI, if you create a new gateway, either T0 or T1, so T1 is only in stateless for the new stuff. But in the end, you just choose is it active or active passive. Oh, that's the third Yves.
Yves and Yves.
Right. We can change the name.
No, keep the topic going.
Okay. So you decide is it active standby or active, and that's the huge difference. So you need to choose for the core licensing that the T0 is an active standby, because the edge gateways, Cloud Director deploys are active standby anyway.
Yeah.
So it's only stateless. I would like to have a discussion with one of our service providers, telling him like, yeah, you're now in charge. Please go to your tenant and explain that the tenant needs to configure the firewall rules for both directions from now on. That's brand new. It's a feature.
Oh, this is how we used to do it in 1837, back in the days.
Yeah, in the good old days when Yves started creating cloud designs, 1873. So there is, as you mentioned, Sascha, there is an add-on package called VMware Firewall.
Yes.
What does it contain?
That contains the distributed firewall.
Mm-hmm.
So we are then able to configure the distributed firewall, and from our understanding, also an edge gateway firewall, so that you can use all of the firewall features in stateful. That's right. And yeah, you have to pay it as service provider as an add-on. You have to buy this add-on subscription for every core of your hosts that you are running with NSXT.
With VMware Firewall.
With VMware Firewall.
So
yes.
I would say it's maybe on a per cluster base,
yes.
but you license all the cores.
You license all the cores.
Even if you're not using the DFW.
Yes.
And as we are aware, most service providers use the gateway firewall extensively and not providing access to the DFW because it causes a ton of troubles if you're not aware how it works.
That's right.
So now Broadcom came up with a new statement, which says, as we understand again, it says you could license a gateway.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because that brings back all of the edge gateway firewall functionality that most of the tenants using with Cloud Director. So that's very important for the most service providers. And this edge gateway firewall or gateway firewall functionality is licensed per core of the edge transport node, or per vCPU. Per vCPU of the edge, of the edge transport node.
But I think you license four cores per vCPU.
Yes.
Yeah.
So take a deep look. How does a license function is, or how to license it?
Yeah.
But
just do the math.
Yeah.
But in the end, it again, and that's what we always say. It depends, right? It depends on the design, how you build the infrastructure. So from now on, with this new option, if you do the math, it's pretty okay. You can start changing the infrastructure towards a build saying, oh, I create a dedicated ESXi host cluster object and run only edge transport nodes on top of it. And then I could think of license this cluster with VMware Firewall.
Yeah.
So we have the whole, including DFW. Or if you're more planning to have the edge transport nodes running somewhere in the infrastructure, it might make more sense to license only the edge transport nodes and have less edge transport nodes and increase gateway instances per edge transport nodes to use it as efficient as possible.
Or you use a stateless firewall.
That's what he would do, right? Right. If you have questions how to explain your tenants to build firewall rules in a stateless way, ask that guy.
Yeah, we just go back to Gopher and FTP protocol, and then you don't have a problem like that.
Yeah.
Yes, Gopher was really a protocol.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but I think
we could also do UUCP again.
Better not.
Yeah, I'm not old enough for that. So that's the thing, how we currently interpret licensing.
Yeah.
And again, it's a game. It's a trade-off, as in every design. How am I licensing my infrastructure to be, from a cost perspective, as efficient as possible?
Yes, and you really need to sit down, write down your infrastructure, create your complete design new from the infrastructure perspective. How do you build clusters? How do you sort your different clusters, your different tenants? And make sure if you need gateway firewall, if you need distributed firewall, and if you have enough tenants for both, think about to create different clusters with different license models.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
And think about your third-party vendors. If you're using Red Hat, Microsoft, Oracle, all of them will add some complexity to this overall license model.
Yeah.
Because that is, each one of them has their own interpretation on how you core, whether hyperthreads are cores. All of them have their own interpretation on when they change license models and all of these wonderful things. You just want to make me disappear. That doesn't work that way. Think about it. I'm in your back. Don't go into more detail.
Yeah. What was the topic again?
License firewall.
Yeah. So it gets more and more interesting. So we haven't covered the whole VMware firewall plus ATP. So there is
that's right.
Let's call it the one with advanced threat protection on top.
IDS IPS is also a part of
that's ATP.
Yeah.
But I think IDS IPS is both gateway and distributed. Then we have malware prevention and those features. Most of them are consumed as a managed service anyway.
That's right, but we hope in the next versions and in the next year we will see more and more of these features directly tenant managed.
And in the VCD UI, that would be really cool. But it goes even further, saying, all right, I need to plan how to deploy the workloads, which cluster is licensed maybe VCF core only. I have maybe other clusters running VCF core plus VMware firewall add-on, and maybe another cluster with VCF core plus VMware firewall plus ATP.
Yeah, maybe.
To save on license cost.
Yeah, that will become very interesting in the next weeks, the discussions. All of the service provider have to decide it until end of March. So 6 weeks time.
But you think you can book add-on packages later?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, but you need it if you have currently the services running.
True, yes.
You cannot say I start with the base license and kill the firewall of the customers. That will not happen.
On the other side, when you follow along the presentations, they said the add-on licenses might not actually be available from day one. So if the license is not available, I cannot book it.
Yeah, that is another interesting part.
Yeah.
But there we need to wait on informations from Broadcom.
I think once the usage guide is available, which, as said, should be available soon, whatever soon means, we will have more details. And then once we have that, potentially there are also more questions. But I think we will do exactly as we have been doing for the last couple of weeks and months. We will keep people posted and let them know how we understand what it is at the moment, because that's all we can do. Because as long as no one answers questions, we can only provide you with the best of our knowledge and actually try to give you as much information as possible and try to explain to you why we think that is the way it's going to be handled.
And it's especially for tonight, because as you've said, it's our understanding, our interpretation on how the gateway firewall licensing could be used. Maybe tomorrow there will be a new article saying something else provided by Broadcom, and then we're just wrong. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was a pretty short one, but we've been live yesterday, and it was on short note. So if there are any questions, I have no idea if it works or not.
It would work. They will show.
Cool. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope it was interesting. If you have any questions, just ping us on
social
media. That's a good one. And we're more than happy to help.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for joining. Bye.
Bye.